Welcome to the Menowave Lounge, hot flashes and cool conversations with Marty Daly and Robin Duke. Join us and our team of health professionals, holistic practitioners, and coaches as we talk openly about the ups, downs, and everything in between when it comes to navigating the Menowave of menopause.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Menowave Lounge, hot flashes and cool conversations. I'm Robin Duke, and this is Marty Daly. And we have Dr. Rani with us today, and we're super excited to talk with her.
Yeah, we absolutely are, Robin. Dr. Rani Banik is America's integrative eye doctor. She's a board-certified ophthalmologist and fellowship-trained neuro-ophthalmologist with additional training in functional medicine. Dr. Rani focuses on the root cause of eye diseases and uses integrative strategies for conditions such as thyroid eye disease, macular degeneration, cataracts, dry eyes, glaucoma, and other autoimmune diseases of the visual system. Her treatments are based on nutrition, botanicals, lifestyle modification, essential oils, and supplements. I also wanted to add that Dr. Rani takes a functional approach to eye care, and her focus is on perimenopausal women. And she has a book series out, the first of which is called Beyond Carrots, Best Foods for Eye Health A to Z. Super excited to have you with us.
Well, thank you both so much, Robin and Marty. It's so exciting to be here. I'm really, really excited to talk with you both.
Likewise. Before we jump right into the questions, Dr. Rani, we like to kind of start with just kind of fun, what I call meno moments. That I think a lot of our audience members can relate, just funny things that we that we encounter as we go through this journey together. And I'll just go ahead and start something that happened this week, kind of a brain fog thing. I order from Amazon a lot. I'm sure a lot of women do. And I'd ordered a Halloween costume, and I've been waiting on it to go make sure that it's right. And I get this notification saying that it had arrived, and I took a little picture of it on my front porch, and it wasn't there. I knew it wasn't there because I had kept looking for it. For 2 days I've been looking for it, and they're like, oh, no, it's there. And so I call, and I just get into this automated circle until my frustration's rising, and I'm about ready to throw the phone across the room. And my husband's like, well, what are you trying to do? And then he's trying to, bless him, he's trying to figure it out. But all I'm hearing in my mind is mansplaining. I can Amazon, darn it. And so I just thought to myself, I did this really good job of like, okay, hon, all right, why don't you do this? And so he sits down, and all of a sudden I can see his face. He's like, well, wait a minute, this isn't working. What's happening here? I was like, okay, so it's not just me. And then sure enough, in that moment, we both opened this front door just for a look, and it's out there. But the funny part was, I thought it was me, but I was very proud of myself for just not going crazy on the rage on him, and to let him see that it's not always menopause. Robin, how about you? I know you've had a really tough week.
Oh, yes, I can so relate to those moments. But yeah, this week has been like so many balls in the air, just juggling them. And just it's as soon as I get one thing up in the air and working, there's another ball that's come down. You got to catch it and then reschedule it and move it around. And then I just have felt really overwhelmed with appointments back to back, projects going on more than I normally do. And so I've had to really like step back a little bit from everything that I'm doing and take those moments in between to breathe and to like readjust my mindset and my focus on where I'm going, and reassure myself that, okay, you're going to be all right. And even if something falls apart, it's not the end of the world. You can still pick it up. And I laugh at it a lot of times. I was like, okay, this has got to be my minnow moment, But yes, it's been a really big week, but I'm so glad to be here. And Dr. Rani, do you ever have moments like that?
Oh my goodness, absolutely. I'm in the same boat as both of you, and I have similar, brain fog type moments and juggling, trying to manage lots of things and trying to deal with all that. But my biggest menopause moments are when I have my hot flashes. They come on just completely out of the blue, and it always happens at the most inopportune time. So for example, if I'm talking to a patient, I'm trying to explain something really complicated, all of a sudden I feel that wave coming on, that heat, I start sweating, it's really uncomfortable. And I'm sure the patient can see me breaking out in a sweat. So I don't know if they think I'm just nervous talking to them about the issue, or they can really tell what's going on. But that's been quite a challenge for me over the past few years as my hot flashes have been relentless. And sometimes it'll happen when I'm teaching and I'll be in front of, a bunch of residents and medical students, and all of a sudden I'll break out into a sweat. So again, I wonder what they're thinking, if I'm just like really nervous and having a moment, or if they realize that it's really menopause. I don't tell them, but that's a commonplace occurrence.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I think we all can.
Yeah. And I think it helps too as a patient. Oh, okay, well, I'm not the only one here. Hey, my doctor may be having a hot flash too. So there's just that level, I'm sure, of like, oh, okay, we're not in this alone. Wonderful share, ladies. Thank you so much. Dr. Rani, tell us what inspired you to take particular interest in eye care for women going in perimenopause and going through menopause.
Well, first, I'll just give you a little bit of perspective about how I got interested in eye care, and then I can talk more specifically about women in menopause, perimenopause. So I basically fell in love with the eye back when I was in college. In my last year of college, I knew I was going to go to medical school, and I was exploring different fields, and I would shadow different doctors. I went to shadow like a primary care doctor, pediatrician, a dermatologist, a psychiatrist. And then one of my family friends was doing his ophthalmology training, and he said, why don't you come spend the day with me? And that day literally changed my life, because I saw what he did. I saw him, I went to the operating room with him. I watched him do surgeries. I watched him do cataracts. And I saw what the incredible results were, people who could now see again. And basically he was able to give them back the gift of sight. And I said, you know what, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So I fell in love back then when I was, oh my goodness, I was 22 years old. And so now 30 years later, I'm still in love with, everything to do with eyes and vision. But the reason I really focus now on women going through perimenopause and menopause is because I'm one of them. And I've experienced a lot of these symptoms that many of my patients have. And I feel like because I can relate so much, I know what they're going through, and I've been through it, and I'm still going through some of these things and trying to manage and navigate. I can really explain to them what's going on and help them find a solution. And with my functional medicine training, I think that is also, it gives me kind of a unique perspective, is I really try to find the root cause. So don't just put a Band-Aid on it. Don't just, just try to give somebody a drop and say, oh, it's going to be fine. Or, just say, just wait it out. It'll be fine. We really want to get to the root cause and prevent it from getting worse. And I think a lot of people really appreciate that, because our eyes are so precious. When things are going great with our vision, we don't think about it. But when things don't go great, it can make us stop in our tracks. It can be so disturbing to not be able to see well. And to be able to help women with that, it really is an honor to be able to do that.
Wow, that is so exciting, because I think in dealing with menopause, we don't really take into account how much our eyes have to do with, and our eye care has to do with our menopause, our hormones, and the things that we go through. And can you help us to kind of connect how our hormones going through this and our eye health connects?
Absolutely. So again, we may not make that necessarily that connection between hormones and vision health, but there is such a close connection. And I'll just preface this by saying that in terms of most common eye conditions, like whether it's dry eye or cataract or macular degeneration and glaucoma, we can talk about all these more in detail, but most of these conditions are significantly more common in women. So you have to ask yourself, why is it that women have such higher rates of all of these conditions? It has to do with our hormones. It has to do with our changing estrogen levels, our progesterone levels, and our testosterone levels. So it's actually all three of those sex hormones are involved in terms of keeping the eye healthy. And so definitely there's a higher prevalence of all these conditions in women as we get older, particularly after menopause is really when a lot of these issues crop up.
Wow, I didn't realize so much was connected even after we're coming off of menopause. You had talked about some of the conditions that women go through with cataracts, thyroid eye disease, floaters, light sensitivity. Can you talk a little bit about those kinds of things?
Yeah, I mean, there are some conditions. I think we were talking about this earlier offline, but there are some conditions that happen with age, and they don't necessarily have to do with hormones or menopause, perimenopause. And so conditions that just happen as we get older include floaters, for example, cataracts, light sensitivity. But then there are some conditions that specifically have to do with hormones, like dry eye is the big one. And dry eye is something I see in almost all of my female patients over the age of 50. Almost everyone has dry eye. And if a woman comes in and she doesn't have dry eye and she's over 50, she's the exception. And it has to do with, again, changing levels of estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA. We have glands in the eyes, in our eyelids, that help us produce tears and oils for the tears. And so with those changing hormone levels, our glands don't function well and the eyes dry out. So it's a major, major root cause of dry eye symptoms. Now, I mentioned also earlier about other eye conditions that can happen to women in perimenopause, menopause, and after menopause. We don't exactly understand the link between being female and being predisposed to certain eye conditions. But I do hope that, unfortunately, there's a lack of research that's been done on these eye conditions in women. Specifically, most research has been done in males who are Caucasian. So it's definitely a skewed group. And so we don't still understand, why is it that women are so much more predisposed to macular degeneration, for example, or cataracts or glaucoma? There has to be a hormonal component. There's really no other explanation than a hormonal component.
Dr. Rani, would you share a little bit more about what is macular degeneration? I mean, I know people that have had it. I know my ex-mother-in-law had it, and my grandmother had glaucoma. Would you mind taking a moment and just running us through like what these are? And, I know a lot of women too might be waking up going, oh my gosh, do I have this? I have dry eyes. Could you kind of put our minds at ease on what to look for?
Yeah. So to explain, I actually have my handy dandy eye model with me.
Awesome.
Love it.
So this is the eye. It's actually quite complex. And, we only see the front part of the eye. When you look at somebody, you're only seeing the front part, the colored part, the white part in the front. But actually, if we take a peek inside, you can see that there's a lot going on inside the eye. So let's start with the front of the eye. So the front of the eye here is the cornea. And that is what gets affected with dry eye. The cornea dries out. And so the front part of the eye, when it's dry, then we can experience symptoms of burning, irritation, blurry vision, because if the surface is irregular, it's going to cause blurry vision. Now, next, inside, I'm going to move this over here. Inside here, you can't see it here, but there's a structure here that's called a lens. And it's a lens that is in our natural lens inside the eye that helps us to focus. Now, of course, I don't have it in this model. It must have gotten lost somewhere along the way. But the lens, when we're young, it's clear, it's transparent. And as we get older, it starts to become opaque. Just with our natural aging process with oxidative stress, it becomes opaque. And when it becomes opaque, the light coming in doesn't get through completely to the back of the eye. And so that's what we call a cataract. So again, a cataract is when the lens that sits right here normally becomes opaque. And imagine it's like looking through a window that used to be nice and clear and transparent. And now it's become kind of, I guess, dirty is the best word. That's what a cataract is. Now, moving on, the back here is the retina. So it looks orange, but it's really transparent. The reason why it looks orange is because there's a lot of blood vessels beneath it. But macular degeneration affects this part of the retina back here. See this yellow spot right here? This represents the macula. And so what happens in the macula is that there are deposits that get formed, that get put there. And these deposits eventually can progress and they can cause vision loss. Unfortunately, in the early stages of macular degeneration, there are no symptoms. People don't know that they have it. So Marty, you were saying earlier, somebody may be thinking, oh my gosh, do I have this? You wouldn't know necessarily unless you went to the eye doctor and you got a checkup. So that's something I'm going to put a little PSA in here. Make sure you go once a year to get your eyes checked, because a lot of these conditions, whether it's cataract or macular degeneration or glaucoma that affects the nerve in the back of the eye, none of these have symptoms in the earliest stages. It's only until you hit the late stages where people actually realize, oh my goodness, I don't see as well. Like I'm missing part of my vision. So you never want to let it get to that stage where it's so advanced that you actually have lost vision. Get to see your eye doctor, get it diagnosed if it's early, and then get on treatment early. And that's the best way to approach eye conditions as we all get older. So I hope that helps to explain a little bit with my little eye model here.
Love your eye model. Quick question, because I asked you the other day, and I want to think for others. Will just any eye doctor do? Like I go once a year to get my glasses and my contacts renewed. Are the tests that I get done at the optometrist, is that the same thing? Is it kind of a crossover, or do I need to seek out an ophthalmologist every year going forward?
That's a great question. And thank you for bringing that up. So I'll just define a couple of terms here. So there are three kinds of O's in the eye care world. There's ophthalmologists, optometrists, and opticians. So ophthalmologists, I'm an ophthalmologist, by the way, are medical doctors, so MDs who've gone to medical school and done training, and then 4 years of ophthalmology, 3 years of ophthalmology training, and then maybe a fellowship. And so we take care of everything from glasses to, some of us do contacts, to exams, to surgery. So the whole spectrum, we prescribe, etc. Optometrists have gone to optometry school, so 4 years of optometry school. They're ODs, doctors of optometry, and they have learned about eye diseases, and they're considered kind of like the primary care doctors in the eye care space. So you go to your optometrist, maybe for glasses, contacts, and they can do the eye exam. And then opticians are the ones that make the glasses. So, you know, when you sit and you try on different frames and you see if it fits okay, those are the opticians. So they're not able to prescribe, but they do fit glasses. Now, in terms of who you need to see for an eye exam for your annual checkup, it doesn't matter whether you see an ophthalmologist or optometrist. Just make sure that you're getting two parts of the exam that are really, really important. Yes, you have your prescription. That's, you know, one thing, but you want to get the front part of the eye looked at under the microscope. So that's the slit lamp exam. And then you want to get your eyes dilated so they can check the back of your eyes. And that's called a dilated exam. So ask for those two types of exams. And that way, you know, you're getting the full exam that you need for your annual visit. And the reason, again, the dilated exam is so important. I know a lot of people don't want to do a dilated exam because, oh, they have to get the drops in and then they're blurry for a while afterwards and they're light sensitive. But so it's so important to get those drops in because that's the only way to check the entire back eye. So basically the pupil, and after dilation, it gets really, really big. So we have a window, we can see into the back of the eye. And that way we can see the entire retina. Without dilation, we only see about 10% of the retina. So when the eyes are dilated, we can see the full retina. And we're looking for things like macular degeneration, for diabetes, for high blood pressure, for glaucoma, for cataracts. So really, I know it's a little bit of an inconvenience, but think of it like part of your routine care. Like we all go and we get dental checkups every 6 months and cleanings. We get our mammograms, we get our colonoscopies. Include your annual eye exam in that routine healthcare regimen of yours.
I remember you saying that you had seen, just by dilating and looking at eyes, like how many was like hundreds of medical conditions and diseases that are appearing in your patient's eyes. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah. You know, a lot of people will say the eyes are a window to your soul. Well, that may be true, but really the eyes are a window to your overall health. Mm-hmm. And yes, we can diagnose. I was counting one day, I think it was over 200 medical conditions we can diagnose via an eye exam. And I can't tell you, unfortunately, countless patients I've diagnosed with diabetes just based off of their eye exam. You know, I've seen it, and then I have to call their primary care doctor and say, hey, this patient likely has diabetes. Please make sure that they get the full workup and get on medication and whatever they need to do. So there's a lot we can glean from an eye exam, not just eye issues, but medical issues.
Wow.
I think that'd be very helpful for a lot of women, just an extra step of peace of mind. I mean, obviously go to your primary care, but even going for your eye exam and getting that looked at is just another set of eyes on what's going on in the inner workings on your health. So that's wonderful to know.
Yeah, I love that pun. Another set of eyes on your health.
So thank you.
I may have to use that if that's okay with you.
Absolutely. Please do. So what can women do to help protect their eyes and take care of their eye health?
Yeah, so I'm a big proponent of, you know, your eye health is under your control to a certain extent, to a big extent, actually, based off of your choices. Number one, what you're choosing to eat, what you're putting in your body, the nutrients you're putting in your body, and number two, your lifestyle choices. So I strongly believe that if you have something like dry eye, you can really manage it through diet and lifestyle modification. Even if you have macular degeneration, you can prevent it from getting worse by eating the right foods and making the right choices in your, you know, let's say sunglasses or your screen time use and blue light protection. There's so much you can do that's in your control. And that's why I do what I do, because I love being able to empower people, specifically women, to educate them to make those healthy eye choices.
You brought up a really good point about computer screens. And since we spend so much time on them, what is it that we can do to help to support our eyes during, how much time we spend on the computer?
Well, I'm going to answer that question. But first of all, I want to ask you both a quick poll. How many hours do you think the average adult in the US spends on a screen? Take a guess.
I mean, per day or per week?
Per day, yeah, just average. Take a guess.
4?
Ooh, 16.
I'm going to say 16.
Okay, then I'll say about 8 hours,
Okay.
off and on.
So it's kind of in between. So it's almost 11 hours a day from one study published in the Scientific American, and that was before the pandemic. So imagine now, we're living in a post-pandemic world. We're on Zoom right now. We're FaceTiming with our friends and family members. We're social media. There's so much screen time. And so because there's so much screen time, we have to really be very proactive about keeping our eyes healthy. And what happens with screen time is a couple of things. Number one, when you're looking at a screen, when you're really, really focused, let's say you're watching Netflix or, you're trying to, read your emails. When you're looking at a screen, you just don't blink as often. So normally we blink about 15 to 20 times a minute. When you're looking at a screen, you only blink about 4 or 5 times a minute. And what happens from that is the eyes will dry out because you're just not blinking enough. And so dry eye can be really exacerbated by too much screen time. That's probably the most common thing I see. And not just in women, all ages. I've even seen kids, teenagers with very, very dry eye because they're just glued to their screens all day long. The other thing that can happen associated with screen time and blue light is the syndrome called digital eye strain. Some people call it computer vision syndrome. It's basically the same thing. So basically, it's a constellation of symptoms. So yes, there may be dry eye, but there may be trouble focusing, blurry vision, light sensitivity, which is a big, big symptom that many people have from digital eye strain. Sometimes people even develop headaches and shoulder or neck pain and strain. So this is, again, this syndrome of digital eye strain. So what can you do to counteract that? Well, I would say the most important thing is to really pace yourself and take lots of breaks. Again, so you're not just staring at that screen for hours and hours and hours on end. Take breaks. So schedule your timer, set your watch or your phone to go off every 30 minutes. You take a quick break, even if it's 20, 30 seconds, close your eyes, let your eyelids lubricate your eyes, maybe take some deep meditative breaths or go walk around a little bit. Do something to relieve your eyes from that constant, staring at the screen. The other thing you can do is we were talking about this also offline, is our screens all flicker and they're made to flicker so they can save battery life. But that flickering, it's really, really fast. Most of us can't perceive it, but our brains can perceive that flickering. And so when the screen flickers, it can cause light sensitivity. It can cause a sense of discomfort and eye strain. So a couple of things you can do is you can get a screen filter. You can actually, not a physical screen filter, but you can actually download an app that's a screen filter that can internally remove that flickering from your screen. And also it can remove the blue light from your screen also, which can lead to eye strain. So I would strongly recommend, if you have eye strain from being on a screen, take breaks, get that screen filter app, make sure you're lubricating your eyes really well, make sure you're blinking purposefully. There's some blinking exercises that I recommend that I can share with you. There's a lot you can do. And then there's a big question about blue blockers.
Well, I have to stop you right there because as soon as you were saying we don't blink enough, all of a sudden I'm blinking.
I'm like, I'm going to make up for it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you just have to train your brain, be cognizant of if you're blinking and make it a point to blink and really lubricate those eyes. You get all your glands pumping when you blink. So it's really, really a good thing. It's so simple to do.
It is. And I just wanted to add one little quick thing in here. I used to do this thing called eye yoga. And so when I stepped away, it was all about looking distance and then moving your eyes back and forth and up and down and closing them. And, just doing this whole set of different movements because your eyes don't, they only move just a little tiny bit. And your peripheral and you're up and you're down and, just breathing and it actually looking at a distance. I used to do a lot of computer work, and they would make us take breaks like every 2 hours just to get up and walk around and stretch our eyes. So yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that, because I love eye yoga. I tell my patients to do it. And also I have patients look kind of in a circle, like imagine a clock face, and you're going to look in all the different clock hours. And that way you really can stretch your eyes out. So they're not the muscles in your eyes out. So they're not always focused in one place. And it's very, very refreshing, actually, if you take a break and you do your eye yoga during the break. And I also love something called palming. Have you ever heard of palming, eye palming?
No. This is a new one.
Yeah, it's really simple. All you do is you take your palms, you rub them together, create a little bit of a heat, and then you cup your eyes with your palms. And so basically you're blocking out any light, any stray light from getting in, and you close your eyes and you do some meditative breaths. Even if it's for like 15, 20 seconds, it is so refreshing to relieve any light stimulus from your eyes, but also to close your eyes and do that deep breathing. I love it.
That is nice.
Remember that.
That's wonderful. I'm so glad you shared that. That is awesome.
Those are some really great tips. I mean, especially since so many of us are on different types of screens, not only on our computer, but also on our phones or cell phones that we hold in our hand. And then if we're outside looking at our phones, we get a different type of light. So this is really, really good to bring that focus and that attention to our eye care. I know that there are some really excellent supplements out there. Can you talk a little bit about how supplements actually help our eye care?
Absolutely. So in my book, I actually have a copy right here, Beyond Carrots, Best Foods for Eye Health, A to Z. I share what all the nutrients are we need to keep our eyes healthy, not just carrots and beta carotene, but there's a whole range of nutrients. And I would say of all the nutrients, there's over 30 that I talk about in the book, but the ones that are very, very specific to our eye health are two nutrients called lutein and zeaxanthin. And they are pigments that are yellow pigments, and our bodies can't make these pigments. So we need to get them from external sources, whether it's from our diet or from a supplement. So what these pigments do is they get deposited by the body in the back of the eye, like back here. I'll show you again. In the back of the eye, you see this yellow spot? The reason that spot is yellow in the macula is because it's full of lutein and zeaxanthin. These pigments actually get deposited back there. And when we look in the back of the eye, it actually looks yellow, maybe not this bright yellow, but it looks yellow back there when we look. And what these pigments do is it's really incredible how this has evolved over time. These pigments help us to absorb and neutralize harmful wavelengths of light. So for example, blue light, UV light, these pigments take all these light rays in and neutralize them so they won't do harm to our eyes. Now, I mentioned that we need to get them from food or supplements. Well, in terms of food, most of us, unfortunately, don't get enough of these nutrients from our diet. For lutein, for example, we need about 6.5 milligrams a day. Some people think even higher, maybe 10 or 20 milligrams a day. Most people on a Western diet are only getting 1 or 2 milligrams a day. So there's a big gap there between what we should be getting and what we're actually getting from diet. And that's where supplementation comes in. I'm a big, big believer. I know it's kind of a roundabout way to answer your question, Robin, but I thought it was important to share the background here. But that's why supplementation, especially with a supplement that has lutein and zeaxanthin to protect your retina against blue light, UV light. And there is also research to show, there's a lot of research to show that these nutrients also help protect against macular degeneration. So I wrote my book. I shared also in the book about, I have a whole chapter about supplements, and in the back in chapter 4, but also I just launched a supplement line specifically curated for eye health. And this is my supplement for with the lutein and zeaxanthin for things like macular degeneration, for eye strain, for blue light. And it has that lutein and zeaxanthin. It's called Fortify, by the way. And it's part of my line, Ageless by Dr. Rani. So I thought I would share that with you. There are many other supplements out there that also have these nutrients, but you have to check the labels and make sure you're getting what your eyes need, because there are some supplements that have only small amounts. Others have a lot, way too much. You know, there's some supplement formulations that have 40 milligrams of lutein. I think that's way too much. So when you're looking at the bottle, you're going to look for 10 to 20 milligrams of lutein in that supplement.
That is interesting.
And so where do we go to get some Fortify?
So my website's probably the easiest place to get it, and I can share the link for my website, but drranibanik.com, and then you can look under shop and you can find the supplements there. And I have other supplements as well. I have a whole eye care line, a multivitamin specifically designed for our eyes. And then I have an omega supplement, actually have them here as well. So this is the multi, it's called Nourish. I don't know if you can see it, but it has everything that your regular multi would have in it, but it also has specific nutrients called bioflavonoids that come from plants that our eyes need to stay healthy. There's lots of research behind it. Things like quercetin or resveratrol. People have probably heard of resveratrol because of red wine and grapes and apples and things like that. But there are studies to show that all of this helps our eyes. Broccoli extract can also help our eyes. So Nourish has all of that in it. And then I have an omega that's specifically formulated for dry eye and macular degeneration. This is a complete omega. So it's got omega-3s that we all know about. So many great health benefits from omega-3s. It also has a particular form of omega-6 called GLA, an anti-inflammatory form of omega-6. Most omega-6s are pro-inflammatory, but this happens to be anti-inflammatory. And then it's also got omega-7 and 9. So it's a complete omega-3, 6, 7, and 9.
Wow.
Wonderful.
So you said that we don't get enough of these two particular, and I'm going to not say them correctly because something with this.
I mean, these are not common terms.
But what kind of foods contain those supplements? I mean, I know we don't get enough of them unless we just ate a truckload of them, but what kind of foods actually would specifically have these two types of supplemental ingredients in them?
Yeah, that's a great question, Robin. So I would say you're going to get the most bang for your buck with leafy greens. So leafy greens, number one, actually 1, 2, and 3 in terms of, where can you get the highest concentration of these nutrients? So foods like spinach, kale, collard greens, romaine lettuce, any kind of greens. So Swiss chard, rainbow chard, anything like that, arugula, and even some of the herbs. So for example, basil and parsley and cilantro have high levels of lutein and zeaxanthin. So look for the greens. But let's say you can't have greens or you don't really like greens. What else can you eat that's going to provide you with lutein and zeaxanthin? Well, think about foods that are naturally yellow or orange. So for example, bell peppers, specifically the orange varieties, have lots of zeaxanthin. And yellow bell peppers also have lutein and zeaxanthin. Also corn. I know it's such a popular food, corn, but that beautiful yellow of corn is because of lutein and zeaxanthin. And then egg yolk, that's another one of my favorites. I know a lot of people, they're worried about cholesterol, so they throw away the egg yolk, they just eat the egg white, but actually the yolk is where the magic happens. That beautiful like golden orange yellow color is because of these pigments, lutein and zeaxanthin. So please eat the yolks. There's research to show that even if you eat the yolks, your cholesterol is not going to go up too much. So please don't throw away the yolks.
Oh, that's awesome. So many of our foods that we try and get many of our greens. I like that you said orange and yellow foods because, I mean, how easy is that? If you can't remember anything else, eat your orange and yellow foods.
Absolutely. And, it's seasonal too. So there's, for example, in the summer, if you think about yellow and orange foods, think about peaches and nectarines. Right. And then in the fall, you can think about some varieties of squash that are really, really rich in lutein and zeaxanthin. So there is at least some kind of seasonal food you can turn to get your daily intake. And I'll share one other tip for you in terms of like how to get enough in your diet, because I know it may seem like overwhelming, like how do I get enough of these nutrients? A simple thing I recommend is, and I share this in the book also, I have some recipes in there, is to have a green smoothie every day. And if you have a green smoothie, I would suggest you take your favorite leafy green of choice, whether it's spinach or kale or arugula, whatever you like, 3 cups of it. Okay, 3 cups of your leafy green. And then you add in some seeds. And these are great for omegas. They don't have lutein and zeaxanthin, but they're great for omegas that we also need for our eye health. So like chia seeds, flax seeds, hemp seeds. So put in like 2 tablespoons of seeds, then add berries. Add your favorite berries, preferably the darker the berry, the better for your eyes. So blueberries, blackberries, even raspberries, strawberries, they're all great. Add some berries in there, blend it all together with, whatever your milk of choice is, whether it's regular milk or plant-based milk, add some ice, and you will get all your eye nutrition in one go. in one big green smoothie.
Wow.
Nice. I love that. I love that. I'm going to share that with my daughter. She's proud. She's got perfect vision right now, and she's young, but she loves making her smoothies. So I'm going to share that with her so she can feel even healthier about herself.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
please do, because all kinds of smoothies are great, but in particular for your eyes, try the green ones.
Perfect.
That sounds really yummy. I like spinach, blueberries, and avocado with coconut water. And
oh my goodness, yeah,
a really yummy, just smooth, because the avocado gives it that beautiful smooth flavor. So
yeah, and very creamy and rich too. Actually, in my book, I talk about the best foods for eye health A to Z, and actually spinach, blueberries, and avocado are all in my book. They're all highlighted because they have so many amazing nutrients for your eyes.
Yes. So become a smoothie drinker. You'll live longer. Your eyes will thank you for it.
And your brain too. So
and your brain and your body and your heart and your liver.
Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome.
What about cosmetic eye changes? Things like bags and wrinkles. And I know there's been a lot of questions about eyelashes and how to make them longer. I know there's a lot of different questions there, but on your end, like what are you seeing women's biggest concerns, cosmetically?
Yeah, so certain things happen as we get older. We start to get maybe dark circles under our eyes. We get those fine lines and wrinkles on there's crow's feet, or we get the 11s in between our brows. Those are just natural parts of aging, but in order to prevent worsening of them, what I would say is, number one, stay hydrated. Hydration is really, really important. You don't want to let your skin get dehydrated. It's going to sag more if that happens. Also, you want to limit your salt intake. When we have too much salt in our diet, our bodies retain the salt, it retains fluid. We may get more puffiness on the bottom or even on the top. And then also protect your eyes from UV light. I talked earlier about, lutein and zeaxanthin for the retina, but your skin also has some lutein and zeaxanthin, but it's really best that you wear sunglasses or some kind of a wide brimmed hat to protect your eyelid skin from the effects of the sun, because those rays are very powerful. They do lead to increased wrinkles and even some types of skin cancer. So you just want to be really, really careful with that. Now, for dark circles, what happens with dark circles is that we have really thin skin under our eyelids, and there are very fine capillaries in that skin. And if we rub our eyes, those little capillaries can break. And then basically it's almost like a bruise under the skin. That's what causes the darkness. And so number one, I know it's tempting, but don't rub your eyes. Even if you have like really bad allergies, itching, or dry eye, and you feel good when you rub your eyes, if you rub your eyes, those dark circles are going to get worse. So instead, what you want to do is you want to use a cool compress, because it constricts the blood vessels. And you can even there are these great eye masks. I don't know if you've seen them. They're kind of look like a paisley shape, but they're infused with certain ingredients, and they can help to reduce dark circles and bags and sags. So I love, there's a particular one that I use. It's a matcha infused eye mask, and it's green. It's bright green like matcha, and it's got some caffeine in it. Caffeine helps to constrict blood vessels. And it's also got a particular ingredient called EGCG that's found in green tea that also helps to constrict blood vessels. So there's lots of things you can do naturally to try to limit the signs of aging for your eyes.
Wonderful. So what are your thoughts on like eyelash serums? Because I know that's a big concern. Is it like we can get prescription ones versus over the counter? I know you mentioned the other day to watch out for some of the over the counter ones. Would you mind sharing a little bit more about that? Are they okay to use if we want to grow our eyelashes?
Yeah. So I'll just first start off by saying that it was an accident how they were discovered to grow long lashes.
Really?
So it was an accident. Yeah. So there's a condition called glaucoma in which the eye pressure is high. And so we use drops to lower the eye pressure. And there's a particular type of drop that's called a prostaglandin drop that lowers the eye pressure. But what we realized is in patients who are taking this drop for glaucoma, their lashes grew these thick, luxurious lashes. And so then people realized, oh my goodness, that's a side effect of this drop, is that it can grow really beautiful, thick, long eyelashes. So then the company that makes the drop decided to market it in the cosmetic market. And it's called Latisse. And it's been around for a while. it does work. It works really well. Again, it's the active ingredient is a prostaglandin, but there are some side effects that can happen. So first of all, you can develop like dark pigmentation around your lashes. So this is more concerning for people who have a lot of pigment in their skin, that they can develop these almost like raccoon eyes. I don't know if you've ever seen anybody who has really, really dark lids, and that can happen from something like Latisse or any of the other ones on the market that are marketed to grow eyelashes. The other thing that can happen is sometimes people can get some like a sunken look under their eyelid. So it can look like there's like hollows under the eyelid that can be caused by these products. So talk to your doctor about it. Number one, Latisse is a prescription product. So talk to your doctor about whether it's right for you. But if you're getting something over the counter that has this prostaglandin in it, maybe it's not the full strength, but definitely just be very, very cautious about some of these pigmentation changes or hollows that can happen under the eyes, because you don't want to use something, you know, for one benefit, but then end up with a side effect from it. So just be really, really cautious.
Wow.
Got it. I had no idea. That's awesome. Because I have no eyelashes whatsoever, really. And I've like been on the fence of like, well, should I try it? Is it healthy? Does it work? So thank you for that.
Yeah, it certainly works. It definitely works. But, and also if you stop using it, your eyelashes will thin out. So there are some people who, you know, they forget it for like a week and then they notice a change right away when they use it. So it's something you have to continue using on a regular basis.
Yes.
May I ask, what are your thoughts on things like lash extensions? Are they healthy long-term? Are they problematic? I know I did those for probably a year and then just kind of got out of the habit of doing them. But I know a lot of women are still interested in that.
Yeah, I mean, they used to be all the rage, and I think it was all the Kardashians, you know, they had these long, you know, false eyelashes. And so the real issue with them is, so there are different types of lash extensions. Some are with glue, and that's what you really have to worry about is the glue, because they use they use it over here above your lash line, and we have these tiny little glands in our eyelids. I was talking about them earlier, these glands that produce our oils for our tears, and that glue can block the glands. And I've seen countless cases of women who wear lash extensions with glue and they get styes, they get recurrent styes. So basically their glands get blocked, they get infected, and it becomes a sty. So that's one major side effect. And sometimes also that glue can really, really irritate your natural lash follicle. And some people actually end up losing their natural lashes. So they end up with worse lashes than they started out with when they start using lash extensions on a regular basis. So what I would say is, instead of getting lash extensions with glue, consider doing magnetic lash extensions.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like a magnetic liner. You put it on your upper lid or your lower lid, and it clips on basically with that magnetic strip. And then when you're done, you use a special remover to get rid of it. And it doesn't block your glands. And after you wear it, just clean it off completely. Don't leave it on overnight. You don't want to have it like, 24/7. Just use it as needed for special occasions. And definitely enjoy your beautiful lash extensions. Just be safe about them.
Thank you for that. That helps clear up so much for me. And yeah, I've done all of those, and I actually do have magnetic lashes in my drawer that I'll feel good about using. So thank you for that. Robin, do you have any other questions?
Well, wow, there's just so much. This is really great. I know that I've been using castor oil around my eye, and I'll rub it into my eyelash. And that was something that caused my eyelashes to grow, and I didn't even realize it until just this week. I went in and I put my mascara on, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have eyelashes, more than what I normally would have if I had not done that particular kind of care. But because the only reason I bring this up is because we've been having conversations around castor oil and the benefits of that. Have you ever heard anything like that? I know that there's been some research on it, and using castor oil, is that a thing? Is that really?
Yeah. So, the first time I heard about it was about a year ago. I was having lunch with a girlfriend, and our waitress came over, and I mentioned that I'm an eye doctor. She says, oh, I've been using castor oil for my eyelashes, and it's been amazing. And I was like, really? And that was the first time I heard about it. And then I started to look it up a little bit. And there's a lot out there, especially on social media, a lot of people using castor oil for many health benefits, but doing what you were doing basically is to rub it into their eyelashes. And yes, I have seen it work. And I don't know in terms of safety if there are any major issues. The one thing I would say is just make sure you're using it only externally. Make sure it's not getting into your eye. Because I don't know if you've heard, but in the past year or so, there are lots of eye drops that have been recalled because they're contaminated, because they get into the eye, they're not sterile, they can cause really bad infections. And so castor oil, even if it's organic castor oil, it's not sterile. It's not supposed to go inside the eye. So just put it on the outside and limit any, exposure to the inside of your eye. That's the only caveat I would say is do it that way. Sure, it's much more affordable than using something like Latisse or one of those other, even over-the-counter prostaglandin serums for lash growth. So castor oil, I'm in favor of it as long as you use it safely.
Yes. Well, I like that it's also very lubricating, because we as women getting older, dry skin is something that really is, if we don't stay hydrated, we get dry skin on our face and that sort of thing. So the castor oil is just nice and rich, and you can mix it in with a lot of different things, but that's another time, something for another show. So wow, this has been so great listening to all these different aspects of how we take care of our eyes through, healthy eating, the greens and the oranges, foods, supplements, green smoothies, the different types of things that can happen to our eye over time, and just eye care for when we're on computer, UV, out in the sun, that different thing. Is there something that's really like, have we missed or glossed over that you would just like to share with us?
I would say mindset is also important for vision health. I know that a lot of my patients, when they're stressed, their body's stressed, they're going through something in their life, whether it's something with work or school or family or health or financial issues, that's when things tend to flare up. So it happens, we all get stressed, but it's how we respond to that stress that really can help us with our health. And it is true for eye health as well. So I would say, have a mindset that, okay, my body's going through a period right now. I may be stressed from this, this, and this, but I'm going to do some kind of self-care to keep my mindset even. So I'm not kind of going up and down in that roller coaster of stress, that I'm staying more even keel. And certainly I think it's going to benefit not just your eye health, but your overall health. So don't forget about that. And that self-care component is so, so important.
Oh, absolutely.
Matt, when a woman is stressed, like what kind of changes do you see? Stress flares, like how does that show up when it comes to eye health?
Yeah, so I've seen so many people have flare-ups of autoimmune disease when they're under stress. And there's a lot of different autoimmune diseases that can affect the eyes. Thyroid eye disease, for example, can really flare up when women are stressed. There's a particular condition called optic neuritis that can cause vision loss that can definitely flare up when women are stressed. I actually had this one patient who was in her 40s, and she had 7 episodes of optic neuritis. So every couple of months she would come in and she would lose vision, and I have to treat her every time with steroids because it was autoimmune. And finally I asked her, what is going on? Like, can you find a pattern? Like, what's causing all these repeat episodes of these flare-ups? And guaranteed it was when she was stressed. She had a lot going on at home. She was taking care of 2 special needs kids. She was a single mom, also working. And she told me, Dr. Banik, every time I can feel my body ramping up when that stress comes on, and guaranteed I'll have an episode of optic neuritis. And so I said to her, okay, let's work on how we can try to prevent these. And I can treat you for this episode, but let's work on how we can prevent this from happening. So we talked about self-care. We talked about, incorporating some activities that she really loved to do. So whenever she felt like things were overwhelming, she was starting to get really stressed, she would do those activities, or she would just tell her family, look, I need some time to myself to focus on my own care. And that helped her so much in terms of preventing future flare-ups. Those are just a couple of examples.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, because that's very, very helpful. Because I think a lot of women don't realize that. I mean, they just take it for granted that they're stressed all the time, and they don't. And yeah, they kind of know, yeah, it's not good for me. But when you get specific, they're like, here's what's showing up in the eyes. It's very good to know. How can women work with you more? I know you mentioned that you have a course. Do you mind sharing a little bit more about that, and who would be the right type of woman to be interested in that, and how they can reach out to you?
Yes, thank you. Absolutely. So, what I realized is I can only work with so many people one-on-one in my practice. And so I needed to get my message out to more people and help more people. So I created a course. It's an online course. And basically, it's a combination of recorded modules that are self-paced, but then there's also a live component. So we meet every week and we do exercises together and we do recipes together. And it's really a sense of community. And it is geared towards women who are 40 plus, who are perimenopausal, menopausal, or postmenopausal. So we're all going through the same thing at the same time. It's really, I think it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing it, is sharing this information. I have different modules. So for example, I have a whole module on dry eye. I have a whole module on presbyopia, which is trouble reading up close. I know we've all probably had gone through this where, our arms just aren't long enough anymore and we end up needing reading glasses, but that's just one of the many options women have available to them to treat that problem, having trouble reading. And then I have a whole module on light sensitivity and that whole module on the cosmetic changes and ways that you can approach that naturally instead of having to have surgery for your eyelid issues or having to have Botox. There's a lot people can do using integrative and functional strategies. So anyway, the course is called Ageless Eyes. If you're interested in it, it's on my website. You can find the link there. And I hope to see some of you there in the course. And again, we're all going through this process together. And it's important for women to realize that they're not alone. They're not the only one having these vision changes as they're going through their 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond. We all experience them in some way, shape, and form.
That is so true. That is so true. Well, thank you so much for everything that you do and sharing this really great information with us. And we will have all the resources available, your website, your book, which I'm so excited. I'm going to go out and get that right now because I really want to start, looking at how better to take care of my eyes. And I just really appreciate that you've been able to come on to our podcast and share so much with us.
I've learned so much, so thank you.
Well, thank you both. It's really been such a pleasure speaking with you both and sharing this. I hope you can tell it's my passion. It's what I love to do. And the more people I can get to listen to the messages is I think that's my life mission now, is to spread this information that you can empower yourself with these lifestyle strategies and nutrition strategies to keep your eyes healthy.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Marty. Thank you for being on with us. And we just really look forward to reading your book and sharing a lot more of these contents and just getting this information out to our listeners.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us in the Menowave Lounge. If you'd like to connect with Marty, Robin, our guests, or any of our expert Menowave care providers for personalized advice and support, head on over to our website at menowave.org and fill out an assessment that will match you with a provider who knows just how to help. Remember, you don't have to face menopause alone. Our team is here to provide the guidance and care you deserve. So, take that step towards reclaiming your well-being and connect with a Menowave care provider today. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Menowave Lounge, Hot Flashes and Cool Conversations.